Greetings from the East Africa Philanthropy Network. My name is Purity Momo, and these are the Ubuntu stories of impact. We are documenting family giving in East Africa. We are looking at impact, sustainability, succession, and legacy. And on this episode, we are joined by a living legend, Dr. Vijoo Rattansi. Welcome to this platform, Mama.
Thank you, Purity. It's very kind of you to introduce me that way. Should I look around for the person you're introducing?
No, Mama, definitely you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Yeah, kindly talk to us about Dr. Vijoo Rattansi and give us an overview of the trust, and maybe talk to us about the position that you hold in the organization.
Now, Dr. Vijoo Rattansi, I don't talk much about it, but a lot of you know that I have just as rich a Tanzanian heritage as I do a Kenyan. I was born in Zanzibar, but married my husband. I came here when I was very young, so I have a huge heritage of Kenya interest as well. So, you know, it's a mixture of the two. That's where I come from. And when I married my husband, the trust was already into being, because it started in 1956. Now, this trust was started by Mohammed Ali Rattansi and his wife, Maniben, and that was my father-in-law and mother-in-law. Now, it's very interesting how the Rattansi Trust started. You're probably too young, but I'll have to take you back into history.
All right.
Okay? When my father-in-law came to this country, it was 1898. And my mother-in-law was very young. She followed soon after. She was about 15 years old when she joined him. But in those days, child marriages happened, as you know. And she was a child bride, so she came to meet her husband now. Anyway, they would, my father-in-law, when he came here, he left a little place called, he came from Chawand, which is in Gujarat, okay? But a follower of the Aga Khan. He was a follower of the Aga Khan, and my mother-in-law was in a village nearby, like we have in Kenya, you see? So she got married to him. He came here earlier, and she joined him. Now, when she joined him, he was a businessman. He was working for Allavida restaurant. And so he was one of the people working for him, and he would go all the way to Nyeri to do trade with the people there. And in those days, there were no roads, nothing like that. So both my father-in-law and mother-in-law would walk from Nairobi to Naivasha. Then from Naivasha, they would go over the Evidence into Nyeri. That was the route to go to Nyeri. Now, when they went over the Evidence, there were no hotels. And they could not, they didn't want to stop in Naivasha, where there were hotels for Asians. You know, Kenya was very apartheid in those days. The British were around, and they made sure that apartheid was number one, like South Africa. Yeah. But anyway, they climbed up and stayed with the Kikuyu people on the mountains. And they were well known to them. Every time they went, they were told, your manyata is ready for you. They got the same hut every time they went. Now, the first time my mother-in-law went with my father-in-law up there, she was pregnant and a baby was born, a girl. My mother-in-law was too young, and the baby froze to death. So she was buried on the Evidence. But then they proceeded down to Nyeri. That is how they did trade in those days. My reason for telling you this story is that every time they climbed the Evidence and they stayed with the Kikuyu, there was like an apathy. You know, they began to know each other. And my mother-in-law used to say there was a lot of common ground between the Kikuyus and the Indians. because she would get up early in the morning, and she noticed that the maternal, head of that little boma, it was a little village, would get up and she would milk the cow, and then she would draw a square and put the goat in the middle, and she would do her prayers, and then she'd take the milk and throw it all around the four corners, and then in the center. So my mother-in-law asked her, "But why are you doing this?" She says, "I'm praying for everything around us, the world around us, the people around us, and this is our boma, and there I pray last." So it was a very sort of touching scenario for her, because she said the Indian prayers were done that way too. And that is where the bond grew between the people of Kenya and this young girl and this young man who had come. Okay?
Yeah.
So we start from there. Now my father-in-law eventually bought the business that belonged to Alladina Bisram, the business in Nyeri, because Alladina Bisram ran into some trouble, and he started selling his businesses, asking the managers if they wanted to buy the businesses. So they bought them. And that is how he got his own business in Nyeri.
Okay.
All right?
Yeah.
And that is when they all, my mother-in-law and him, stayed in Nyeri.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, they say it was the most beautiful time of their lives. Nyeri was lovely, the weather was right, all the children were born there.
Yeah.
And they all spoke, they didn't say Kikuyu. My mother-in-law spoke brilliant Kikuyu, and so did my father-in-law. But you try telling her, "Oh, you speak Kikuyu," she'd say, "Nengi koyo," she'd go at you like that.
Okay.
Pronounce it properly, and her accent was fantastic.
Yeah.
So there the bond started. Now, when my father-in-law had all these children and he settled them, or some went overseas to study, the older ones couldn't, because in those days there were, your children were your asset. They helped you grow, and the older ones helped the business grow. So from Nyeri he came to Nairobi and started a business here as well. By the time my father-in-law, he did, you couldn't do very well in those days because the profits were little, but people were very sort of caring. He saw all the people he cared for, the ones who looked after him on top of the Abadas. He says, these are the people who really need our help, and nobody else is going to do anything for them. But anyway, by then there were talks of independence. My father-in-law was 72. This was around 1956. And India had already gained independence from the British. So all the African countries were now talking about independence. And my father-in-law was a follower of Gandhi. And my husband as well, although he was young, they were all taught by the father that, you have to, this is our country now, Kenya. So he called all the children, and he says, Kenya has given us a lot, offered us a lot. We've had happiness, you all are born here, and we must do something in return. I'm not a rich man, but this will be my gift when I go. So the children said, go ahead, because you have earned the money. So he says, right, he asked my husband, what do you suggest? He said, I have an idea, but you tell me, because you were talking to me the other day as well. So my husband said to him, education. Let us start educating the people from Kenya. Because he says, yes, that's what we spoke about. Kenya is due to get independence and we need educated people. So let us start an education trust and send Kenyans out. So when Kenya gets independence, we are ready to take over. Okay, from the British. So that's how it started in September 1956.
Okay. It's a very beautiful story. I would listen to that over and over again. But thank you very much. Mama, looking at where you've come from, what would you say has been the impact so far? Do you want to quantify or do you want to go qualitatively?
When we first started the trust,
Okay.
we looked for brilliant students because we knew we would need them to come back and run the country. So that's how the trust worked. You had to be brilliant if you were to be sent out. But as time went on, and we realized the needs of the Kenyan people at the grassroots level, we felt that if we are here for the purpose we are, to uplift the lives of our people, then we have to go down to grassroots and start uplifting from there. And this happened in 1983, 84. My husband was a sportsman. I don't know if you know. He played cricket for Kenya, he played tennis, and he was the first KLTA chair after the white men left. He was the first non-white. So he loved his sport and started Nairobi Sports House at a very young age. When they came to Nairobi, and my father, said this grocery store is yours, but you have to buy it. He didn't give it to him free. So my husband paid for it. When he finished paying, he sold it and moved to another place and went into sports because he loved sports. So he started Nairobi Sports House. From a little place on the first floor, he came down to the ground floor where Nairobi Sports House is today. But we sold that place in 1980s, the early 80s, because we wanted to come and look after the trust. And that is when we realized that we need to go to the trust and look after our people, because people would look for us. They knew the Rattansis were in charge of the trust. And those who were desperate came to the shop. So my husband said, no, we better just sell this thing off and we go full time into the work we were destined to do. So that's how we came here to the trust. Sold Nairobi Sports House to the present owners in the 80s and came here to Rattansi.
Okay.
So we met the people. We wanted the trust to have a face and a heart. The heart was the most important thing, because up to now, the way people applied for a scholarship was there was an advert in the paper, the Money Man and Muhammad Ali Trust is now, looking for a scholar, young students to go and study. We went, got a form, filled it, then it was looked at by the secretaries, then the board of directors and trustees, and that's how the scholarships were given. But then we started afresh. People who had problems could come to the office, talk to us, we listened to them first. And we found that worked much better, because you could tell that there was a lot of need, and these were our people. So a lot of things changed then. We were not looking for brilliance now, we were just looking to uplift the lives of other people.
That's true. And how many students have benefited from your support since the establishment?
21,149. Those that have been recorded.
Okay. So you still have a number that is not documented?
We are not sure, because at that time the trust was run, like all trusts were.
Yeah.
You had Barclays Bank who were the custodians. They were the trustees of everything, so they had all the records.
Okay. 21,141
up to date that we have recorded. But I would think that the figure would be thereabouts. There wouldn't be much change, because in the old days, this building that we are sitting in was just a single-story building, and this was the prime property of my father-in-law's. It was the best property he possessed.
Okay.
But he gave it as a gift for education to the people of Kenya.
Okay. Mama, how do you go about measuring impact of your work? Do you have like a model, or what tools do you employ to measure the impact of your support?
See, impact is measured by other people. We can't measure ourselves. But from what we see, it gives us great joy. We have educated, the Trust has educated a lot of young people. A lot of them come back to say thank you, and they say they're sponsoring another child. So for them, that is for us. For them, I think it's a brilliant thing to do. For us, it gives us so much joy that we have produced the right kind of person who understood that when they had a problem, they were helped. So now they must sort of have a whirlpool effect, and we hope that's how it goes on.
Okay, amazing. So you only run one program, that is education.
Yes.
Okay, so do you have like members of staff? Do you engage external consultants? Is the whole thing run by family members, or how do you go about running the program?
At one time, as I told you, Barclays did everything. They were the custodians, they were the trustees, and then Kenya passed a law that you could not be a custodian and you could not do all the three things together. Okay, you could not be the banker and you could not be that. So they had to split, and I think they sold the custodianship to Standard Bank. And we were sort of, we inherited Standard Bank as our bankers and all, but they're doing a good job. But it was quite some time ago. But by now also we had come here, and of course the professionals who, like the auditors, accountants, you need them. All right?
Yeah, sure.
So they are there, you have to have a secretary. And the trustees and the board of directors are people of integrity who do this work because they enjoy it.
Okay, amazing. So if, for instance, you exit the trust today or tomorrow, what mechanisms are in place to ensure the continuity of the work that you're currently undertaking?
First of all, I have to tell you that the trust is in perpetuity.
All right.
Which means forever, whether I am here or not here. But we've been very lucky because our son is very interested in doing this work, and he's on the board as well and does a lot for the trust, although he has his family to look after him. Okay. So we know for certain that he will carry on. But I'm not ready to go yet. I'll retire when I reach where I have to. Okay. And now that the son is in the picture and you're not leaving anytime soon, does that mean you don't have a sustainability plan or a framework or a guideline? No, we do. He already knows that he is the one to come in, and so do the others. And we're always talking about it. Yes. And he takes a very active interest in everything. Amazing. And we need young people around us because they have brilliant ideas. Let me tell you that.
Like me.
Yes, absolutely.
Thank you for that, Mama. So, do you require resources for the sustainability of your trust? Or is it funded by the family entirely?
Well, as I said, the whole building was given as a gift.
This building?
This building belongs to the trust. Okay. My father-in-law handed it over. Okay? So we have our finances, the rent from this building. But then, of course, with the needs increasing and all that, the rent is not enough. At one time, we had surplus money. Would you believe it, in the old days? But now we find that the hunger and the need for education is a lot, and we're happy to see that it's there, because education lights the paths to development, which means our people are ready, have been for a long time. Kenyans are some of the most intelligent people in the world, let me tell you that. We have brilliant people in this country. They just need a chance. And not having money to go to school is I think, very sad.
It is.
Yes. And everyone says, but you do this work, you must feel great. No. We're selfish, I'll tell you that much. We're very, very selfish. Because when somebody comes in and they're crying, they have no money for fees, or the child will have to go, and they go out smiling, that bit, that smile gives us so much joy. So I think we're selfish too.
It's a good thing. And so, Mama, what percentage of the profits you get from these buildings support the work of the foundation?
100%.
Everything.
Yes, of course we have expenses and all, as you know, in a building.
That's right.
So after that, yes. And sometimes, we also have to learn to invest money.
Yeah.
Because the money that comes from the property, like over COVID, there was not much. So you need resources from elsewhere. Okay. But we don't look for donors. But if somebody feels like giving us a check, they're welcome.
But you do not go about looking for donors?
We don't.
Okay.
Looking for donors. They, some might come and say, but you're not well known, you must be. And we say, no, it's okay, we like it that way.
Okay. Why don't you have social media platforms?
For what? For what?
Visibility?
We are visible. Look at the property. Look at my size.
Okay. So, Mama, next is on the succession.
Yes.
And I love this dialogue. So, what structures are in place to govern leadership and succession transition? I remember you mentioning about having a board of trustees and a board of directors. Is that so?
Yes.
And do you have a trust date?
Yes.
Okay, you do.
The trust started as a trust.
Okay.
You see? But like I said, it's different now because things have changed as time went on. Okay, we were always in perpetuity and we always will be.
Okay.
We need to be here for our people. This is our country.
Okay.
And we were hoping that one day the trust will get so big that, we will never, no Kenyan will ever have to look outside for funds.
Okay.
But that is still a dream.
All right. So looking at where you've come from, that beautiful story, what would you say is the most outstanding achievement so far?
The most outstanding achievement is that a lot of people today realize that, people in the beginning used to think, to help somebody you need a lot of money.
But with my husband talking and I meeting people and saying, look, you don't have to be big. You start with one child. That worked. There were a lot of young people who we have educated and are still educating, who come back and say that, look, we've taken on one child. And then they, if they're doctors or whatever and doing really well, they say, we have 3 now. We're going to educate them throughout. So for us, that is one of the nicest things that could ever have happened, because young Kenyans, and it's now the young Kenyans who feel, the ones who went through a lot of hardship, who are doing this.
Okay.
And that gives me, as an elderly lady, a lot of joy.
I know you said you're not exiting anytime soon. So what legacy would you love to leave behind 100 years from now?
100 years from now, like I said, I would like the trust to be so big that no Kenyan finds the need to, look for resources to study outside the country.
Sure.
And it's not just our trust. We have a lot of very good trusts, Kenyan trusts, who could reach there if given a chance.
Okay.
But
would you like to give a shout out to at least 2 or 3?
Then I would be partial, because there are quite a few local trusts.
Okay, the ones that cross your mind.
And all of them cross my mind. And it's a big list, so we'll leave it at that, shall we? But these are the older trusts. They do a lot.
Okay.
But the thing is, you have to be given a chance as well. I mean, so far the government has been brilliant with us.
Okay.
Giving us exemptions from taxes, and we've been able to invest our money, grow it, educate lots more people. So the government has been with us too. So I must thank the government as well.
Okay.
And I hope they keep on holding our hands.
Okay.
Like they have been so far.
Okay.
Because then there is every opportunity. You see, like I say, young people have brilliant ideas. And my son is on the board now, and I have a niece who's on the board, and they're all very, sort of wanting to do lots of things.
Okay.
In fact, they go out to the little, they'll go to Korogocho here, a niece in Diani, she'll go to the areas where there are people who don't have enough money, and they talk to people, and she'll ring and say, oh, there's some kids here who need help. So we say, okay, let them apply. But now we are going in ourselves into it, to grassroots level.
Okay.
Which my husband and I did, and they are following.
And that is great to know. So,
Yes.
Mama, according to you, what is the most important lesson you've learned over time that you'd like to pass on to the philanthropy sector?
Humility in life. When you do this work, it's so humbling. It is very, very humbling. That is when you learn that there is no human being there or there. We are all on the same level. That is one of the best lessons I've learned.
Okay, good.
The human beings are all the same. Our needs are the same.
Okay.
And we all have our dignity.
Okay.
No human being's dignity is for sale.
That's right.
Whether they're rich or poor. And especially the poor, they have only their dignity. And I will not let anybody touch that as long as I'm around. Their dignity is theirs forever.
Beautiful. I saw that level. I'll not tell them. So, and what would you say is the biggest challenge facing the world right now? And what factors should we consider even as we strive to identify solutions to those challenges?
Challenges will always be there. And different kinds of challenges. Different kinds of challenges need different strategies.
Okay.
So I think the first thing one has to do is to be calm-minded, think where you are, and then do things. There's no one solution for different challenges.
Okay. And they will always be there.
There will always be challenges, and challenges are to be overcome. That's why they're called challenges.
Okay.
Okay?
Okay.
So they can be overcome. We just have to be patient.
Wonderful. And do you think support organizations like UPN have a role to play in addressing the challenges?
Yes, I'm very proud of EAPN.
Okay.
I still call them EAAG because I must say we're also selfish because we kind of started it.
Oh, you did?
The oldies. Yeah, we were some old organizations together with Ford Foundation.
Okay.
And we started EAAG then.
All right.
But honestly, we started with a fantastic CEO called Monica Mutuku, who really grew it before she retired.
Okay.
And then we had other CEOs in between, but now we have Evans, and he has grown it too. So I must say, I'm really proud of him, as I was of Monica Mutuku, and I still am of her.
Okay.
That this was her her strategy, her vision, all our vision. That this is where EAAG, I'm still going to call it EAAG,
it's okay,
needed to go.
Yeah.
And he has succeeded. Evans is going the right way. He's taking it where we wanted it to be.
Okay.
So really, I must praise him. Well done, Evans. Keep it up.
And
his team. He can't do it alone.
Okay.
Don't get a fat head. It's your team too.
Okay, beautiful. And how would you encourage the youth to play an active role in growing the spirit of giving?
As I said, you don't have to give money to give.
All right.
You can give your time. You can mentor young people. Because you've all been through that stage, correct?
Okay.
Choose a school and a say, right, let's go to this school. Ask them, do the children need mentoring? And go. You know, a lot of you are successful. Talk about your stories. Talk to these children in school. Encourage them. So that even they see the dream you did.
Okay.
And they reach there.
Okay.
Yeah?
Okay. And what is that one thing you would tell a family that has plans to establish a family trust or a foundation? How is the journey? What should they prepare themselves for?
See, when somebody has decided to
Yeah.
start a foundation, they must have looked into it.
Yeah.
Yeah? And when you start a foundation, you must learn. The first thing is humility.
Okay.
Everyone who comes to you is equal. But if you have decided to start a foundation, please do. It's one of the best things you can do for our people. So go ahead, please.
Beautiful. The last thing for you, and I'm not putting you on the spot, kindly close this session for us in your own way.
In my own way.
Yes.
I'm very grateful to EAPN and Purity and Martin, who's trying to make us look as beautiful as ever, for the session today. Thank you so much. And really, I think if all of us just did a little bit for somebody who needs help, Kenya will go far. So please, just a little bit goes a long way. And like I said, it does not have to be financial. Although if a group of friends gets together and decides to pay fees for one child, it can be done. Now our hope is you young people. So please, young people, don't break my heart. Do something. Try to pay fees for one child in a group or mentor children, as I was just telling Purity earlier. But please go ahead. We all have a role to play. You give your time, that is also philanthropy. You pay fees, that is philanthropy. But you know what philanthropy means, don't you? You get involved in what you're doing. In charity, you just write a check and say, here, go do what you want. But now you will be labeled as philanthropists. So live up to it. Thank you.
And thank you very much for watching this episode. It's been an amazing dialogue with Dr. Vijoo Rattansi. My name is Purity Momo. These are the Ubuntu Stories of Impact. See you on the next episode.